3, 2, red, 1.
In this segment, we're diving into LED wall trends and how they impact you. Technology in LED design is moving very fast. Transparent LED, chip on board, immersive floors, and curved wall installs. And it's reshaping everything from live events to corporate lobbies. Joining me today is Travis Tuttle, Key Account Manager at Absent, to break down not only what's new in LED technology, but also what it really takes to design, install, and support LED walls successfully. Travis, welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Excellent. So let's get started. LED walls have really taken off over the past decade, from massive installations like the MSG Sphere to small college campus projects. Where are you seeing the most commonly used today? And Travis, what's driving demand across live events, corporate, and broadcast?
Yeah, that's actually a really common question that we receive. Like, where are the installs taking place? What's the most common place that people are doing the installs now? And today, where we're at, there's not a most common place. I can't say like, oh, it's only happening here or it's only happening there. We're seeing LED technology being installed everywhere. So you referenced the MSG Sphere, the Las Vegas Sphere. Those are probably like some of the most like popular, like, wow, that's amazing installs. But we're seeing these everywhere. Corporate lobbies, college campuses, house of worship is extremely popular. But really, like the biggest driver now is the expectation for a visual impact. So, like when I show up, it needs to be awesome, right? And as an end user, they realize this, and so they want to get people back. And so they really have to make this awesome visual impact, this huge, like call it a wow factor, something that's going to command attention for when people are showing up. But you also have to be able to communicate a brand story instantly. So think in corporate education space, LED is much more of a collaboration communication than just a wall decoration or like, ooh, that's cool to have. Think of like an all hands room, lecture halls, hybrid meeting rooms. And then take it a step further, which you also referenced for live events and broadcasts, it's all about flexibility. So LED gives producers creative control over shape, resolution, brightness. And even in those environments where a projector would traditionally struggle, like LED doesn't have that problem anymore. So it's really cool the things that people are doing now in places they're putting them in.
At the beginning, I kind of touched on how the cost of LED has come down significantly over the past few years. How is the cost kind of influencing the choice between LED projectors and monitors? Are there
Yeah.
new use cases emerging that just weren't common a few years ago?
The change in cost over the last couple of years has completely changed everything, right? So it used to be that it was, only for the rich or the rich and famous, or maybe your corporate 100 people that had, oh, we've got excess money, we can do that. And so now it's become like this practical choice with the cost coming down, where you don't have to be, this big huge corporate company to be able to afford it and to be able to put it in. So take, for example, the company that used to put in LCD video walls. Well, that's out now. And now the price has come down that they can put in a direct view LED, and your cost is actually probably going to be the same, but your installation is going to be easier, and you've got a longer lifespan on them. We kind of touched on it before in your last question, but executive boardrooms, retail signage, even like esports arenas, classrooms are all getting LED into them, and it's really making a statement. So if I'm an end user and I've got this really cool widget that I'm selling, but this is like a 7-figure or even like a high 6-figure widget that I'm selling or service that I'm selling, like you're not bringing in, you have to really set like the standard for when people come to meet with you. And so that's where LED is coming into play and making much more of a statement than it ever has in the past.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the technology itself. What have been the biggest advances in LED walls over the past 5 years, and how are those changes affecting how they're being used?
Oh man, drastic changes. So great question. I would say let's start with pixel pitch, right? So even as close as 3 years ago, 4 years ago, like we were talking about like a 2.5 to a 1.5 pixel pitch, being like that's a really tight pixel pitch. Now we're under a millimeter, right? So your point 0.6, your point 0.7, your point 0.9, those have come on board. And even in those close viewing areas, it's making a huge, profound difference. And they look absolutely amazing. HDR and color accuracy, that's another place we've had huge improvements. But what it's doing, it's giving the cinematic quality to the LED displays that wasn't there before. And if it was there before, boy, oh boy, was it expensive. So that's really come down. And then we've got some easier technology changes that have taken place. Front serviceability and modular design. So that's making installation and maintenance much easier. So now if I have a pixel that's gone out, and let's say it's in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't have to tear the whole wall apart to fix it. I could take that out because it's front service and put a new module back in, and I'm up and running with virtually no downtime. And then the reliability and the lifespan, right? So we're really talking about 100,000 hours, 10 years on these if they're taken care of. And so all of these advancements put together have really changed what we've seen in the last few years.
Well, one technology I didn't hear you mention, but I'd love for us to talk about is chip on board or COB technology. It's been a really hot topic. Can you explain what it is and why it's significant for end users?
Yeah, chip on board, or commonly referred to as you said, COB, has really changed things over the last couple of years. So basically, to make it really easy, is COB is a different way of packaging the diodes. So there's kind of like two technologies that are really profound and out there. I mean, there's more than two, but the two big ones right now. So I could take my diodes, which are basically little tiny light bulbs, and I could put them right on the surface. And that's your surface mounted diode, or your SMD, as it's commonly referred to. That technology has been around for forever. The newer one, the COB, what I'm doing is I'm putting those diodes integrated right onto the circuit board. And then I'm putting epoxy finish over the top of them. So now it's extremely durable. I don't run the risk of people spilling on it, people bumping into it, and damaging it. I'm also giving visual consistencies throughout the entire board, the entire wall. So that's going to help out a ton. But then for the end users, what this is meaning is it's more robust. It's easier to clean. It's easier to handle. It's easier to maintain. But I'm not going to be worried about those high traffic areas. People are coming by, accidentally bump into it. I don't have to worry about any of that.
So if we look beyond COB, what other trends are you seeing in LED? Things like transparent LED, LED floors, and curved walls. How are these innovations expanding creative possibilities for organizations?
Yeah, I mean, you just named all of them. There are so many cool things that are either out right now or coming or are here and are going to just get better over time. So, just let's go back a few years. It was a 16:9. That's what I can do. And if it's beyond that, then it's going to either be hard or it's just not going to be, it's going to be too expensive, right? So now I've got this transparent LED. I can actually literally put it on the glass of a window. It's not going to block my light that's coming through. I'll still get about 80% of the light that comes through. And it's not disruptive to the architecture that's already there. LED floors, you talked about curved floors. Curved and flexible tiles that I can use now. And even let's take it a step farther and let's talk about ceiling installations that we can do now. So you're getting into this whole immersive setup. It's really, really cool, the things that are coming on board. But my curved and flexible LEDs are allowing us to do things that we couldn't do before. So think of that artist that is out on tour, right? They don't want to do a show that they don't want to do 7 shows that are exactly the same. Now they have the opportunity, they can change the entire stage, they can change that backdrop. They're still using the exact same material that they had from, if they're going from Phoenix to Salt Lake and Salt Lake to Denver and Denver, they're using the same material, but they could put it into a different format. And so it makes this really, really cool environment, but this great show that are people going to. So like every show is completely different. And these artists are able to expand and just make it this really, really cool experience.
I think that's a great segue to talking about design and implementation. So when a facility decides they want an LED wall, what's the most common mistake you see in the planning or the design phase?
Oh, I'm just buying a big gigantic TV and I'm just going to plug it right in and I'm done. Right. And in some like now manufacturers have what they're calling the all-in-one. And so those are going to be specific sizes, right around your 108 size, right around your 136-inch size, and then maybe right around your 163-inch. And every manufacturer is a little bit different, but within a couple of inches of all those, right? And those are gigantic TVs. You plug it in, and you're off and running. But when you get into your more complex system, something that's bigger, something that's outside of it, maybe I'm going to be doing a 32 by 9, maybe I'm doing an ultra wide. That's not a plug and play. And so you have to really think of this as like a system. And I'm going to design a system, I'm going to maintain a system. And a lot of times people are just like, hey, I need a 1.5. Well, why? Well, that's what I was told. By who? My brother's girlfriend's aunt's uncle, he's in the AV business, and he said I need a 1.5. Well, there's a lot more to it. Well, how far away are you going to be? What content are you showing? Are we showing custom content that you created? Are we showing live sports? Are we showing something that you pulled off of YouTube? So your content and the strategy behind that, your lighting, all that needs to be taken into consideration. So if you bring somebody like Absent and Keycode in the very beginning, before your walls are up, before everything's done, then we can help save those headaches for you.
Well, we don't want to keep all the information for ourselves. So maybe we should address what organizations should know about power, HVAC, rigging, and other behind the scenes requirements. So maybe we could cover a few of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we know a couple of things, right? Like the LED, these walls, they're gonna generate heat. Now, this isn't the heat that it used to be. So going back a few years, if you stood in front of these walls, you'd get a sunburn. That's not the case today. These are putting out far less heat than they did before, but it still does. We know that they draw consistent power. We know that they require structural support. So you really need to collaborate with facilities and engineering early in the project so that everybody's on the same page. Each display has a unique power distribution and thermal management needs. And so if those aren't addressed up front, that's where you can run into some of your problems. And we want to be able to alleviate all of those problems. And then you kind of touched on it a little bit too. Your rigging is another critical area that can't be overlooked. We don't want this stuff to fall. And that's a worst case scenario. We don't want to get it up and it seems like everything's good and then it falls. So, you really need to go into the planning and that's why, we have these architects that can go through and tell us what we can and can't do. But if you ignore that step, it's not going to work out well.
So earlier in our conversation, you mentioned how these installations need to have the wow factor, right? They really have to be impactful. So how would you say that the content strategy and the playback system need to evolve alongside of the installation itself?
Yeah, so the content is so important, right? The LED is only gonna be as good as the content that's driving it. And a lot of organizations underestimate that, right? They're so fixed on the size or the pixel pitch, but really we need to talk about like what content are you putting on this? Is it, like I said before, is this going to be live? Is this going to be videos that you created using your iPhone? And so there's so many important things that go into it. But now with LED, we have a much wider color gamut than we had the past. We have higher brightness and custom aspect ratios. And so all of that needs to go in there and to be part of the strategy. Your content strategy and what it's going to be is so important. Who's creating it, what playback system is going to manage it. But a good processor, a good media server is going to make the difference between a static wall and a living, we'll call it a communication tool.
Well, now let's kind of transition into the support and long-term success. So how do LED walls differ from projectors or LCD walls in terms of upkeep and service design?
Yeah, so the great part about LED is it's much more stable and low maintenance long term. If you're going to have any issues with LED, it's almost always in the beginning, right? During install, maybe diodes got damaged during shipping or something like that. But we don't have bulbs to replace. We don't have any filters to clean. We don't have any seams to align. That's a problem with LCD. Video wall. Somebody bumps into it. Now it's out of alignment. I've got to get back into alignment, and the bezels on these are so thin that that's a challenge. So let's just remove the bezels altogether and do LED. But when you really look at it, over a 5 to 10 year span, LED always tends to be a lower total cost of ownership than LCD or projectors are going to be. One of the cool things that we've got now is we've actually got like a 55-inch LED screen that can replace video walls. They have the VISA mount on them. So you can literally take off the LCD screen, put up an LED, no bezels whatsoever, and continue on in life. It's pretty cool.
Well, Travis, thanks for unpacking both the exciting trends and the practical realities of LED walls. For those watching, the takeaway is pretty clear, is that LED technology can unlock incredible experiences, but success comes from thoughtful design, preparation, and of course, long-term planning. So thanks again to Travis from Absen, and thanks to all of you for joining us in this segment.
Thank you. Appreciate it.